Hi everybody and welcome to my pink hair FAQ video. I've been wanting to do this video for so long because no matter what social media outlet we're talking about, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube, it's the #1 thing I always get asked, questions about my hair. So this video is going to cover hopefully all of your questions. I did my best, did a lot of research on what you guys wanted to know about my hair, and I'm hoping that this will be a huge help to you, and if it's not help to you, maybe you'll just find it interesting, I don't know. In the description below, there are links to all of the questions, so if you're just wondering one particular thing, you can just quickly go there and your answer will be there. There's stuff that I'm probably missing out just because it's so obvious to me, and I'm going to do a subsequent video which is more about maintaining hair health, how I have the length of hair that I have, and just taking care of your hair. So I may do some more in that video depending. I'm gonna do my best to answer everything in this one. So this hair is all my own hair. I don't wear any extensions, although I don't have a problem with extensions. I think extensions are awesome. I've just never worn them because I'm lazy. Not lazy, just I don't know, it seems like a lot of work, I don't know. So, and my hair grows pretty fast. My hair grows about, I would say about an inch a month. So it's not, I've always just kind of been like, meh, you know? I might get extensions one day, and there's nothing wrong with having extensions. I just don't have them. Although I do sometimes wear a clip-in fringe just because I don't feel like cutting bangs into my hair, which I just cut and dyed to match my hair color. Okay, the first question is one that I get asked more than any other question, and that is, how do you get your hair so pink? I never understand this question. Like I don't get it. I really don't get it. With hair dye. How else would you get it so pink? Like, I don't know. What do you want me to tell you? It's with hair dye. There's no other way. What kind of hair dye do you use? See, now this is a question that's awesome and makes total sense to me. I use a mix of Special Effects Atomic Pink, which looks like this. Ignore my ugly bottle because it's obviously being used and I get a little messy sometimes, so yeah. And then I use a tiny little drop of Shocking Blue by Manic Panic. And I mix that all together, and as a mixer I use either toner or conditioner, depending on like what I feel my hair might need at the time. Maybe it needs to be conditioned more, maybe it's looking a little brassy and it needs to be toned out, so I would use toner in that case. So the reason that I put a little tiny bit of blue in is just to keep the brassiness out of the color, because pink a lot of times tends to want to turn salmon real quick. So the little tiny drop of blue is to just keep the yellow tones out and keep it nice and cotton candy. Do you have to bleach your hair before you put the pink in? Yes, absolutely. Your hair has to be white before you put the dye in, otherwise it's not going to be as pastel as you want it to be. Now if you don't want it to be as pastel, then maybe you don't need to go white, and that's cool. But for my color I do need it to be like white. As white as I can make it before I put the dye on top. Where do you buy your hair dye? I buy my hair dye from 2 different places. Usually I would buy from beunique.co.uk, which I will link in the description box, but sometimes they're sold out of Atomic Pink because it's kind of a popular color, in which case usually I buy it when I'm desperate for it, so I have to go buy it somewhere else. Then I just search it on eBay and buy it from a reputable seller. I've never really bought it from the same person once, so I don't want to give you a recommendation, but you can find, like, you know, just good feedback, whatever. I don't have to buy it very much. I probably bought maybe 4 bottles of Special Effects Atomic Pink in my whole life. I mean, I only have to buy it every 1.5 to 2 years because I don't use very much at a time. Depending on your hair type, you might need to use more or less, right? Like what works for me might not work for you, but you'll discover that through experimenting with color and everything, what your hair absorbs well and if it fades and things like that. Do you dye your hair yourself or do you get it done at a salon? I do it myself. And like, I mean, I say I do it myself because I don't have someone else do it, but usually I will have someone help me do the back at least, or at least check it to make sure that I've like covered evenly. Just because like I said, the back of my head, you know, you can't really see it that well. I don't have a good mirror situation happening where I can be sure that I've covered. So usually I'll just, you know, my mom or boyfriend or someone will be like, you're looking good. If you've never dyed your hair and you're thinking about going pink or maybe another unnatural color, I would suggest first going to a salon to have your whole head bleached if that's what you're gonna do. It's easy to keep up with roots, but it's a lot harder to do your whole head of hair for the first time. So the first time I would suggest going to get it done professionally, somewhere that you trust, someone with experience at least, just so that you can be sure that you're taking care of your hair and that you're not gonna ruin it all, right? Because it takes a while to grow back, so you don't want to take your chances. What is your hair dye recipe? I would love to be able to give you like an exact recipe, but I eyeball it every single time. And it's usually different every single time. You've probably noticed between this and all my other videos, I usually have pretty much the same shade of pink, but sometimes it will be a little darker, sometimes a little lighter. I don't really care. Like, I just do it whenever. Sometimes I want it lighter, sometimes I want it darker. I just put all of my starting mixer in a bowl, and then I put a couple drops of pink in, mix it in. If that's not dark enough, put a couple more drops of pink in, mix it in, put a couple more, you know, until it's the consistency and the color that I want. And then after that, I would add, like I said, a tiny eensy weensy drop of blue. Like seriously, the smallest amount ever. You want purple. But pro tip, if you want purple hair, that's how you could do it. Mix pink dye like this and blue dye. So that's also how you can make pastel versions of colors, is just to mix them in a mixer, like I said, toner or conditioner, and just add a little tiny bit of dye and mix it in. Like you have dark blue dye, mix it in a bowl with conditioner. Now you have light blue dye. It's literally that easy. It just comes down to like experimenting and seeing what tone of the color looks best on you. I firmly believe that everyone can probably pull off an unnatural color. It's just finding the right tone for your skin tone that flatters you the best. And even if it doesn't, like, whatever, do whatever you want, right? Like, who cares? So then once I have the color that I like in the bowl, I just apply it to my hair. I first section my hair off with big clips, just so that it's more manageable. And then I start applying it on my hair, focusing on the roots first, because the rest of my hair doesn't really need that much dye. Just making sure the roots are really, really covered, and then I would pull the subsequent dye I might have on my brush or gloves through the rest of my hair, just to give it a good coating. As you might imagine, I have to make a lot of dye to cover all of my hair, because I have a lot of hair. Usually I have to make 2.5 mixing dye bowls full of product. So the packaging for most vegetable-based dyes like Special Effects or Manic Panic say that you should leave the color on for at least half an hour, and that is recommended. Usually though, I will leave it on for even longer than that, just because, especially like I said, if I'm using conditioner, I want to give it that little bit extra time to like absorb into my hair. And you will find that the longer you leave it on your hair, the more vibrant your hair will get. So if you're someone who usually just follows the directions and leaves it on half an hour, try leaving it on for a little longer next time. You might find that the results are really different. And because it's a vegetable-based dye, you're not going to have to worry about damage like usual hair dyes where, you know, you don't want to exceed the recommended time. But this is just vegetable-based dye. There's like, it's not bad for you, especially if you're mixing it with conditioner, right? Just leave it on. If you leave it on really, really long, like 3+ hours, it can be a little bit more neon than you want, but if neon's the color you're going for, go to town, leave it on. You can't go wrong. What kind of conditioner do you mix in with the dye? Really, I will just use whatever I have on hand. Sometimes it's good stuff, sometimes it's like cheapo stuff. Usually I will try to take the opportunity to treat my hair well, and I might splurge on like a really nice conditioner or like higher end, let's say. Like I said, it's not necessary. The lights just changed. But keep in mind that the runnier your conditioner is, the more difficult you're gonna make putting the dye on for yourself, because if it's runny, it's not gonna stay where you put it. So you're gonna put it on your roots and it's just gonna run out of your roots. And you need the dye to stay put, because that's what's dyeing your hair, right? So if it's running off where it should be, running down your face, down, you know, the sides, you're not dyeing your hair properly. It's gonna be all uneven and stuff. So thicker is better in this case, just because thick stays put. What is your natural hair color? My natural hair color is an ashy gray blonde color. It's really weird. It doesn't look good on me at all, in my opinion. This is a picture. I don't know. Yeah. So obviously that's too dark to put the pink on top of. So like I said, I do have to bleach it and bleach it to white. But because I am blonde to start with, I don't really, I mean, it does damage my hair a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not as damaging as if I had really dark colored hair. Not to say that if you have dark hair that you shouldn't do an unnatural color, but of course we know that you have to go through all of the stages of bleaching, right? So just something to keep in mind. How often do you dye your hair? I dye my hair every month and a half to, I've even pushed it like 3 months more before. When I was younger, I used to be super on the ball, and like every 6 weeks it was like, bam, do it. As I've gotten older, I don't care as much. Do you know what I mean? Like if I have roots, it doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, that's too bad, but it doesn't bother me. I'm cool with it. And to be honest, it's kind of better if you can push it a little farther, and I think that's what I can attribute my length to, is that I don't go overboard with the bleaching. I do push it a little farther when I can, you know, because bleach is obviously not very good for your hair. So if you can put it off a little longer, you know, let your hair have a little bit of a breather between chemical processing, it is a little bit better for your hair. But I get it, roots aren't real cute, right? So you have to balance. And that's just the bleaching of my roots. For some reason, the pink in my hair, it like doesn't fade. And I haven't heard that experience from anybody else that I know that has brightly colored hair, that it doesn't fade. Because usually this stuff, even though it's really good, it fades over time. It's a vegetable-based dye. And even with permanent or semi-permanent dyes, you do get color fading. But like, I don't know, my hair doesn't really fade. And I think that's just because I've had it this color for so long that it doesn't really fade. I don't know why. I don't get it. Trust me, I don't get it, okay? I don't get it, but that's how it is, so I'm just telling you. So like I said, when I do dye my hair, I just do the roots and I'll pull some of the rest of the dye through the rest of my hair for sake of evenness, but it's not really necessary. How long have you had your hair pink? Well, I've had my hair pink since I was 14. I started doing like pink streaks and underlayers and my bangs and stuff when I was like 12, 13, and then right before I went into my 10th grade of high school, I did completely pink, and I've never looked back. I've had it for, well, I'm 22 now, so 8 years. It's kind of weird to think about though that most of the people in my life who like are close to me or that I work with or anything have only ever known me with pink hair. Like the only people who have known me longer than pink hair are my partner, my best friends, and my family. That's it. That's weird to think about, right? But it's kind of just my natural color at this point. Like, no one really knows me without this color, and if I didn't have it, I don't think I would really recognize myself. Does your hair color ever bleed on anything, like towels or bed sheets or anything like that? I have never experienced bleeding myself, but I've heard from a lot of people who use this Special Effects Atomic Pink who've reported bleeding. A lot of people. So that's something you need to keep in mind. It has a lot to do with how porous your hair is, right? And we all have different hair types. So you just need to just keep that in mind, you know? Like when you're in the shower, especially right after the first week or two after you dye your hair, don't use a nice towel on your hair, you know? Don't use a nice pillowcase because that's just risky business and you don't want to put that on yourself. So just, as our Canadian friend Drake would say, take care because it could happen to you. Do you think you'll ever dye your hair a different color? I don't know. Like, I've done streaks of other colors in my hair. I've done green and purple and blue streaks. Nothing else though. But I don't really think so. Like, I can't really see that far into the future, and I don't know what kind of circumstances I'm going to be in 5 years from now, you know? Like, I'm not going to pretend to know. But I don't see myself dyeing it a different color anytime soon. Like, I really like it. And I picture myself as this tiny little old lady with, like, pink hair. It would be really cute. Even after all this time. How did you manage to get a job with unnatural colored hair? For some reason, I've never really had a problem getting a job based on my hair color. I've had retail jobs, acting jobs, I've had teaching jobs, and like I said, I've never had an issue. But also, I don't have any unusual piercings. I can dress professionally when I need to. So those are like other factors, obviously. I'm not saying this to put you off dyeing your hair an unnatural color, but that is something that you need to take into consideration because there are places that do discriminate against unnatural colored hair. And I don't like that. I think that's bogus. I think it's really unfortunate that even in this day and age, society still will discriminate against unnatural hair colors and stuff like that. I hope to be a part of the movement to change that mindset because I don't really think it's fair. I have another video where I talk about that I made many moons ago called Body Mods versus the World, so if you want to check that out, it's right here. But depending on what you want to do, it might be a problem for you. You just need to keep that in mind. I'm not trying to put you off dyeing your hair an unnatural color. I'm just trying to prepare you for the world because I don't want to see you get hurt. Do people bother you a lot about your hair? Short answer, yeah, they do. Almost all of the time it's positive, but even so, it can get a little bothersome after a while. Like, for example, if I'm, in a restaurant having a serious conversation with my friend and someone will come over and interrupt us to ask me about my hair. But that said, it doesn't really annoy me that much just because knowing myself, it may surprise you to know this, but I'm kind of a shy person sometimes, and when I see someone who I think looks cute or pretty and I want to tell them, it's really nerve-wracking for me to work up the motivation to approach them. So I try to keep that in mind when people come up and talk to me, that they might have to work themselves up to come and approach me, and I can appreciate that gesture, you know what I mean? So I can never really truly be annoyed, If you're thinking about dyeing your hair pink, expect the following to happen to you. Pink hair? Whoa, your hair is pink. Well, it looks great on you, but you wouldn't catch me dead in it. Whoa, pink hair you have. Pink hair? Pink hair? Her hair's pink. Mom, look. Mom. Mom, look at it. Pink hair? Her hair is pink. Mom, look at it. It's pink. Mom, look. Wow. Is this for Halloween? Wow, this is for Valentine's Day. Wow, this is for Breast Cancer Month? Wow, it's a party? Or you're going to a party? People also constantly yell, nice hair! And even if it's not meant as a compliment, I just go, thank you. Is it a lot of work to have pink hair? Yeah. It is. It's a lot of work. The pink itself is not what makes it a lot of work. It's the bleaching and the damage caused by the bleaching. Like I said before, I'm not saying this to scare you out of doing it yourself, but I just want to be completely honest with you and my experience having pink hair so that you can go into it knowing what to expect. Stripping all of the color out of your hair can do serious damage. And there's no miracle product that makes it all better. It just does not exist. Basically, you just have to try and deal with the aftermath, which for me means a lot of deep conditioning masks, little to no heat styling tools on your hair, which includes hair dryer, hair straightener, hair curling iron. That's the thing. People still use those, right? Anything like that. I do sometimes straighten my hair, no more than once a month though. It's not good, especially if you have really damaged hair like I do. There's lots of other techniques that you can do to make your hair healthier, but like I said, I'm going to address those more in my long hair video, so please stay tuned for that. If you're thinking about bleaching your hair, you should consider talking to a consultant or a hairstylist first, even if you're not going to have them dye it, just so that they can assess your hair type and tell you what they think about how your hair will react to the bleaching. Because like I said, everybody's hair is different. Some people have really thick hair, but not a lot of it. Some people have really thin hair, but lots of it. In between, there's so many different types of hair, and everyone's hair reacts differently to chemical processing. So it's good to have an expert opinion so that you're not surprised by the outcome, right? There's nothing worse than doing your hair and looking in the mirror after and being like, what fresh hell happened to me? How do you keep your hair so nice? What products do you use? Like I said, and this is gonna be a bummer to many people, but there is no miracle product. Not that I found. There obviously are products that work better than others, but like I haven't really found anything that I'm obsessed with, you know? People always say, well, just tell us what you're using at least because obviously something is working here. But like even now, I have 4 bottles of shampoo on the go and just as many or more conditioners. My shower's a mess. We don't need to talk about that. But what I'm saying is like, I don't want to recommend something to you that I don't love, let alone like. I don't think that serves any purpose. You work hard for your money and I'm not going to tell you that something's worth buying if I don't think it is. Trust me, I'm like not holding out on some amazing product. Does your pink hair fade? Like I said in a previous question, my hair is pretty much permanently pink at this point, but if you are having problems with your color fading out or your hair just doesn't hold the color as well as you would like, there's a really great solution that you can do. You can take your bottle of conditioner that you're currently using, take it out of the bottle, pour it all out into a big bowl, put a tiny little bit of your dye in, mix it real good, and then put it all back in the bottle. Then just use it like you would normally in the shower. That can help refresh your color and help it look vibrant all the time. So that's my pink hair frequently asked questions video. I hope it was helpful to you. If you have other questions, maybe put them in the comments, and then if I haven't already answered them in some way, I'll try to fit them into my following FAQ that's going to be more about long hair and hair health. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And now some gratuitous hair shots. Maybe if I do this long enough and start singing, some small forest animals will come. People always say to me, Disney gave me unrealistic expectations about hair. And I'm like, Disney gave me great expectations about hair. They all came true. Easy breezy, beautiful copyright infringement. Wait, what?